Bel Air Season 1, Episode 8. Nobody wins when the family feuds. Monkeys, roll the footage.
I'm just a gigolo. I host a game show. Everybody.
Episode 8, Nobody wins when family feuds. And that's the funny thing about this entire episode, is that it's nothing but conflict between these characters and the underlying problem of Will finding out about his father, why he left, etc., etc. Like right from the very beginning. And we've already well established it that Will's mom, Vi, and Aunt Viv they butt heads. They don't get along at all. These two, they can get along for, spells, but overall it's a tension there. And Vi really goes into it. She breaks it down because she and her mom used to buy Vivian's art supplies. And then when Vivian, moved to California with nothing, Vi had to go back to Philly and take care of their dying mother and take care of her son. And, Viv married Philip, was not long for the ride to, success and wealth. And obviously they live in Bel Air, so very successful, which was on him and not her because she really didn't do anything to contribute to that. She just kind of latched on and married him, and here we are now. She was a painter, but I mean, let's be honest. How much money did she make on her art? We don't know. They don't really go into it. And then there's the underlying theme of Viv kind of being just a POS because she's entertaining this the flirtations from Roderick, and we don't know what the I don't know, Roderick is his last name or for whatever. Who cares? He's a stupid character anyway. Phil, is jealous of him, obviously, but then Phil is a morally gray character too because he has no problem circumventing the law to benefit his family, whereas the James Avery iteration of Uncle Phil was like a paragon of virtue and goodness. That was the thing about James Avery's Uncle Phil, his iteration. James Avery's Uncle Phil was actually a good person. Version likes to give off the impression that he's a good person, but and a good family man. I would say he's a good family man, but as far as him being a completely good person, I have my reservations, and that's brought to light further when he and Jeffrey are out and I'm going to jump around a little bit here. I don't want to talk about this for 40 minutes today, as I'm working on producing a review that I actually am going to enjoy doing for you guys, and that is this right here on the shelf behind me, as I'm showing you during the review of Bel Air, that I will be reviewing Action Jackson.
How do you like your ribs?
Which maybe one day I will review the Beverly Hills Cop trilogy for you as well, which I absolutely love those movies. Just watched Beverly Hills Cop 3 last night, but that's neither here nor there. Back to Bel Air and all of its quagmire of shit that is this show. So, of course, they fly Vi in on a private jet. You get Carlton and Phil out on the golf course. All right, they're out on the golf course, and Carlton is having a caddy for Phil, and they have to walk. As part of Carlton's punishment, he, bemoans the fact that Will isn't being punished, and Uncle Phil says, well, his punishment's on hold because it's his birthday. But it was really funny, this scene, because he sees an assemblyman who Phil wants his endorsement for DA against Fred Wilkes, Lisa's dad, the, chief of police. They're riding in the cart together. Phil's like, so I can count on your endorsement? And Hernandez is like, I like you, Phil, but you don't have your family in line. And he's like, excuse me, kind of thing. And he's like, your son's throwing parties, they're getting the cops brought to your house. Your wife's been absent on the campaign trail since she blew up at a fundraiser event. And, your daughter's posting thirst trap videos. I'm like, and Phil's face is just great because he's like, yeah, just get your family in line. It was kind of funny watching Uncle Phil and his massive ego get smacked down. And just think about it. James Avery, Uncle Phil, he was a judge. He never once acted this way. Never did he act this way during the entire run of the original series. And I know what you're thinking. It's just bad writing. Aunt Vi telling Carlton some stuff about Aunt Viv, and it's the whole thing. Kylo is meeting with Hillary, and she, of course, wants to play the I'm so morally superior, and, he breaks down her litany of starting things and not finishing them, quitting them, running away from them. And she says she wants to quit the house, and he's like, great, you owe me $50,000, he didn't say that, but we find out later that her kill fee for her contract is $50,000, which she doesn't have. The Jazz character, to kind of, take her side in it, is a bit bewildering to me, because this Jazz is, absolutely a great character. Like I said, he's one of the only characters on this show that I can say really has a moral leg to stand on and is a good person, a hard-working man. He's driving Uber. He runs his father's record store. His father passed away. This is a self-made man. This is a hustler, and I respect that. Hillary is just this pretentious snob who thinks that everybody should just give her way because I'm me. And, Karen Parsons was, at least, like I said, she was a sweet person. This Hillary's just like, you can't, every time they try to make you feel sorry for her, they give you a reason not to feel sorry for her. I'm going to go to Hollywood and tell White Kylo off. Jazz, you drive me? Jazz, like, absolutely, because they're kind of vibing, feeling each other. And she drives up there, and immediately Kylo's like throws this Victoria's Secret thing out, and she's like, yeah, fuck you, Jazz, I'm out. And goes back to, doing the ethot thing. There's a moment this episode where she's going to shoot a video, and she's like, I just can't see. It's just like, oh, God, just make it stop. Like, either she's just going to go full on, ethot and do this, which it's not even that. I don't even understand why, like, it's such a bad thing that she does this. Why she's so morally... It's not like she's nude. She's not doing, like, Brazzers shit. She's filming in lingerie. It's nothing different than these, dumb whores that Twitch stream do now. I never understood guys that will, like, throw money at these Twitch streamers. I don't understand it. It's like... Tell me you have no life without telling me you have no life. I can always think of better things to spend my money on than some ethot who is going to take your money and then go spend it on her boyfriend, or a husband. It's like, or 70 cats. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But to get back to, this is how interested I was in this episode, how compelling the writing and acting was in this episode of Bel-Air that I'm talking about this. I love the moment where Viv is telling Uncle Phil that Vi is going to, considering telling Will about his dad, and he's like, are you fucking kidding me? Who the fuck are you? You're not his father. You're not his parent. You're his guardian. And I know everything that he's done for Will and them, but it's like, it's kind of his mom's decision, to tell him. Now, right, wrong, or indifferent, it's his mother's decision. James Avery and the actor, I can't remember the actor's name that played Will's dad, Lou, in the original show that didn't suck. But they had such a great scene together. And when Will called, he's like, bye, son. And Will's like, all right, Lou. And it's just like, and that whole sequence afterwards where Will is going off about how he's going to be a better father, a better man. He's going to love his kids. He's going to be there for his kids. And then he breaks down to James Avery and says, why doesn't he want me? And they hug. It's like, that shit has me tearing up. As a father, because I could never imagine any scenario on which I, walked out on my family or my son. I don't care how hard things got. I don't understand. I can never relate to that mindset, Every family has problems, but it's like, if you do that and you walk out on your family, I don't care what race, color, ethnicity, creed you're a piece of shit. If you just walk out on your family, you're a piece of shit.
You're both pieces of shit.
There's a nice moment where Vi makes breakfast, biscuits and gravy, which, Maron, that's my favorite, is biscuits and gravy. Bad for the arteries, but absolutely delicious. That was a, kind of a little family moment there. Ashley is barely in this episode, speaking of all the characters. And there's the moment where Phil is with Jeffrey in his office. Phil has Jeffrey set up a meeting for him with Fred Wilkes, Lisa's dad, the chief, about, and this is a again, something that James Avery, his character, never would have done because he wasn't a douchebag. He says to Jeffrey, get this meeting with Fred. I need to talk to him. This show is bad. There's nothing about this show that makes these people redeemable or redeeming, gives them any qualities at all. Will and Vi go out on the pier, they have a great time, and they're, taking all kinds of pictures and riding rides, and, this is the point here where Hillary tries to shoot her video, and she's all set to go in her little, robe, silk robe, and You know, she's got the twins on display a little bit, and she just gets that point where she kind of feels dirty, it looks like. And that's when we go to the meeting between Fred and Phil on the roof. And, you know, they have their words there, and they're like, we got to beat these evil white Republicans. They're going to make Fred look bad because he's a cop. I guarantee you. They kind of already leaned into that a little bit. I'm waiting for more of that to happen moving forward. And then Hillary goes to Kylo at this point to quit. You know, Kylo kind of puts her in her place and just leaves her with this dumbass look on her face like, oh, I'm responsible for that $50,000 fee if I break my contract, you know.
What?
Like I said, at that point, he doesn't tell her how much it is, but she alludes to it later being $50K. It's kind of funny because it's like, oh, they try to paint him to look like the asshole. Process, it just makes her look like an entitled brat. That she's like, well, I'm just going to quit.
Shut up, bitch!
Viv goes to meet Vi and Will for lunch, and of course, there is some tense moments there between the two of them, and it all comes back to money, because it always comes back to money for people who aren't wealthy. That's what the writers are trying to, you know, paint it out as. Jeffrey and Phil, and this is a scene right here that really makes me dislike this Uncle Phil character, because every episode has had them treating Jeffrey like an equal, like a member of the family. Kind of like in the first show. Like, you know he works for the Banks family. I remember holiday episodes on the original one where Jeffrey was invited to, you know, stay with the family, you know, hang with the family. He didn't have to go anywhere because they want him there because he's family. Phil and Jeffrey are out on the tennis courts having boxing practice, and, you know, Phil's working on his hands, and Jeffrey's, you know, got the pads on for him. And the topic comes up, of course, about Lou and Will. Phil remarks that he's not somebody that Will needs in his... Lou isn't somebody that Will needs in his life right now. And Jeffrey tells him, well, think about Carlton and what would you do if you were in Lou's situation. Phil is adamant about Jeffrey following his marching orders to keep Lou away from Will. Jeffrey says, I'm not that type of brother. It doesn't sit right with me. And Phil delivers the one dramatic hard punch to the glove, and they stop, and Phil's like, too bad, you work for me, and walks away. And it's like, how do you expect anybody to look at this guy like he's not a heel at this point? Like, you're still trying to get him over as a babyface, but he's doing heel shit all around the board. This guy is shady. Phil is shady. This iteration of Philip Banks is shady as hell. It's not good Uncle Phil. It's not wholesome. I love my family, but I still want to teach them the difference between right and wrong Uncle Phil. This is Uncle Phil that is kind of a fucking prick. He's trying to muscle on Jeffrey now. I can't imagine James Avery. Like, James Avery would put himself, like, in that... like that alpha position, but he never did it with like malicious intent. He did it when he had to, because he had to be an authoritative figure at that point to show people that this is wrong and this is right. And he was always on the moral side of things. So this ambiguity, this moral ambiguity that they're trying to write into these characters, and Phil especially, doesn't work. Everybody is over for Will's party, and this is when Hillary has the discussion with Jazz about, you know, Kylo and the 50 grand, and you know, we get a huge blow up over the fact that Vi gave Will a picture of her holding him as a baby, which is a beautiful sentiment from a son to a mother. Is somebody whose mom is not doing good health-wise. It's a beautiful sentiment. But then Vivian comes in with a limited edition pair of Jordans and gives them to Will, and they happen to be signed by Michael Jordan, and this puts Vi over the top, and they start a screaming match at his birthday, and blah, blah, blah. It's a whole to-do, and it just... Anybody with family can relate to that, because, like I said, I've got... And of course, Will's the only... The white representation we have is the communist kid from Will's basketball team. And yeah, he's pretty much just there for, look at me, here, I'm checking a box, because that's why he's there. And Carlton goes to Aunt Viv, and he, you know, offers some sage wisdom about, you know, well, what about you telling me and Will we had to get along? Why don't you and your sister have to get along? And, you know, she makes an allusion to Carlton and Will being brothers, which, you know, these two, like I said, Carlton's character is a far cry from Alfonso Ribeiro. Nothing like the original character. The complete, like, 180 of that. I find myself at times going like, this character could be good if, and the moment he kind of breaks things down to his mom was one of those redeeming moments for the Carlton character. And of course, the end of the episode, you have Viv and Vi, making amends. They're outside making, they make things right by each other. And then Carlton and Will come to Jesus meeting about Lisa. And, Carlton's like, just don't hurt her. Basically, Carlton signed off on it. Officially told Will, I'm cool with you dating Lisa. Just don't hurt her. And, Will's like, absolutely, And they hug, and it's a nice moment with those two. Like I said, these redeeming moments in these episodes are so fleeting that if you blink, you'll miss them, and this was one of them. At the very end of the episode, though, Jeffrey walks into Phil's office, and he pulls a letter out of his coat, and he's looking at it. It's, just a blank envelope, and he's going to set it down. Guarantee you he was resigning. He was leaving. He was quitting. Will walks in behind him and asks him, hey, can you do me a favor? I have a big ask. And Jeffrey's like, well, how big? And he asks him, can you, find my dad? I just want to know about him. And Jeffrey's like, that is a big ask. But, he says, I'll see what I can do. And Will calls him 007 and walks out. And Jeffrey's very morally conflicted. This is going to cause a big rift with him and Phil. And that's where we leave this week's episode. That's all the detail I care to go into about this one. This episode was so bad. It was so fucking bad. Yeah, that's why I have to review Action Jackson. I have to watch something that was good. And literally, I stopped while I began production on this. And I went back and I was watching clips of the original show of Uncle Phil. And I was just like, my God, like, why did you massacre? It was that Godfather moment. Look what they did to my boy. They massacred my boy. This show's terrible, and the moral ambiguity amongst these characters speaks to the hypocrisy of the writers, the projection of the writers. It's like, yeah, they want to do all the things, but they don't want accountability or have to accept any responsibility for them. So they put that on their characters, I guess. That's the way shitty writing go. That's the way people like that act, is they'll put all of their darkest things into these characters, desires or whatnot, or the way they would actually like to conduct themselves but can't because of societal mores and folkways, and they inject themselves into these fictional universes so they can get away with all the things that they want to get away with in real life vicariously through their characters. And that's why I see this, especially the Uncle Phil character, is like, he's very successful, but at the same time, he's piece of shit tendencies. So, Aunt Viv, who in the first show was, a professor, she taught at, I believe it was a university. You have this Aunt Viv who, I'm a painter, and I'm such a good mom, but I may or may not have banged this guy, and it's like, what? Hillary. You guys know I've talked about it ad nauseum. Now it's your turn. Do all the YouTube things. I've spent enough time talking about this. I'm going to start working on Action Jackson. And yeah, that's it. I'm Utepo Kuyan of the Place to Be Reviews. I've been here with all of yous. If I don't see you, have a great day, a pleasant tomorrow. I'll catch you on the next one.
I know, that thing's just chilling.
Some pills.
It's just fentanyl, baby.
And remember,
I could do this all day.
It's better to burn out than to fade away.